This is the Rocky Raccoon recap with BPN Media Director Jordan Utter.
What's up?
Welcome back to the show.
I'm excited for this. It's gonna be good.
So this one's kind of full circle. Me and Jordan are gonna wrap up Rocky Raccoon. I did the 100-miler. Jordan did the 100K, which equates to about 60 miles. His first ultra, my second ultra. And the reason I signed up for Rocky Raccoon, I didn't even know about Rocky Raccoon. I think it was like a week after Leadville 100. And you texted me saying, here's this race. And I saw, you literally sent me the race link while I was driving home.
Yep.
And at a stop sign, I signed up for the race and committed to it.
It's amazing. Sorry, Steph. I'll just go ahead and apologize to your wife because I knew you were looking for the next big thing. And I was like, oh, this is right up Nick's alley. Here we go.
So what made you decide you wanted to do an ultra?
Oh, man. In short, Leadville. Dude, Leadville was amazing. It was an experience and an adventure that I'll never forget. But more than anything, seeing you do it and complete it, literally the day after, maybe that night, I was like, when is the last time I've made the choice to do something that was so overwhelming and so scary that I was like, I don't know if I can actually do this. Even no matter how much I prepped, no matter how much I felt ready for it, that I would still have not doubt, but still this curiosity, I guess you could call it, or just a longing of like, am I actually capable of this? And so for me, 100 miles was a little bit of a stretch. For a little background, I've never even done a marathon. So signing up for the 100K felt a little bit more in my wheelhouse. And yeah, dude, just the looking for that crazy thing, at least for me, it's all relative. That was just so big and scary that I knew would push me, and I'd find out a lot about myself, which I'm sure we'll dig into the lessons learned. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Short.
Well, I think it's a good way to describe it. Is it's relative.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes is, "Comparison is a thief of joy."
Yep.
And relative, everything's relative.
Yep.
Like what's
Absolutely.
hard for me might not be hard for you. What's hard for you might not be hard for me. And I think the ultra scene or running or even fitness in general, it is a drug.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drug in a sense of you get this big burst and dump of dopamine during, before, after, all the feelings. But at the same time, it is that question of, can I do this?
Yeah.
Like, is this out of my capabilities and possibilities?
Yep.
And then you go and do it. And it's that second hit of that drug where it's,
yep,
ooh, I did do this.
Yep.
What else can I do?
Absolutely.
And you keep pushing and you keep pushing. But it's almost like a chemical dependency where the dose needs to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how the challenge grows and grows and grows. So what used to be hard for you, maybe it was a 5-mile run, then it was a half marathon. And then you were like, screw it, I'm going full send, ultra marathon. And now I'm sure you're sitting back saying, I can do a 100-miler.
Yep. No, that wraps it up great. I mean, absolutely. I started running maybe off and on like 2 years ago. And yeah, I remember me and my wife now, Michaela, we would do like a 4-mile run and we would get done. And I was like, oh, I need a chocolate milk or something. I'm toast. Like I need calories. And that's awesome. Like that's where we were at the time. And now that aerobic base is just built, and a 4-mile run is just, I mean, now, the minimum I do is like a 5-mile run. It's just normal. And I had to keep reminding myself of that prep, because coming off that high of Leadville, seeing all these people from every age and background doing Leadville, 100 miles in some of the most intense environment and terrain, sometimes I would creep in and be like, who am I? I'm doing a 62-mile race. Who am I? Like, that's not a big deal. Who am I? But then I had to remind myself, like, no, it's all relative. Look where you started. Look where you're at. This is your journey. Run your own race, type of mindset. So yeah, to your point, like everything's relative. And when you start to compare, you start to rob yourself of that joy during that process. And when you complete that race or whatever that adventure might look like for you.
Well, it's like we had the BPN marathon
Yep.
3 weeks ago. And something happened there. Like I experienced something there that I will never forget the rest of my life. And it's all about relativity. So I met this couple, this married couple, and the husband, for his birthday this year, he wanted to run I think he did the half marathon. He wanted to run the half marathon, BPN's Go One More Marathon. And his wife, who wasn't a runner, never was, wanted to be there and support him and do it with him.
Yeah.
So they trained together for 16, 20 weeks for this half marathon. And I could see when I met her the day before the race, the passion to support her husband in her eyes and the way she talked. Mm-hmm. And I saw her cross the finish line the next morning. She was crying and like bursts of joy. And she said that was the hardest thing she'd ever done in her life. Yeah. But it was the most fulfilling. And I guarantee she didn't stop running after that race.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they did that together, so it's all relative. She might be looking back 3 years, from now saying, remember when I did my first half marathon?
Yep.
I saw a lady on Rocky Raccoon. I don't know if you saw her. She had a prosthetic leg.
Yeah.
And she was carrying an American flag.
The whole time.
For
the finish.
And I saw her at mile maybe 15. I said, ma'am, are you carrying that flag the whole way? She said, I wouldn't do anything else. But I said, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I saw her falling, tripping over the roots. She was on the ground, but the flag never touched the ground.
Yep.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And I love that about running. I've fallen in love with that, and I've seen that beauty of running. And that's why you see these people with all different backgrounds and age at these ultras or marathons or whatever it may be, because it's a lifelong journey. Like there's always something new you can learn. You can always grow. You maybe, at some point you peak and you don't get faster, whatever that looks like. But I love that about running compared to a lot of sports is it can be just this lifelong journey till you do essentially till the day you die. Like it's really cool. I mean, at Leadville, we were going up Hope's Pass, one of the most intense climbs in the course, if not the most intense. And I mean, there are guys like probably in their 70s. And then that moment I was like, this is like the beauty of running. Like this is endurance sports in general. It's a lifelong like journey that just continues to be relative with where you're at. I love that. It's unique to the sport. It's hard to find that in a lot of other sports, I feel like.
It is. And what's so interesting about running, I've talked to a lot of fitness professionals recently. Sal DiStefano from Mind Pump was on the podcast a few weeks ago. And if you look at running from a physical performance standpoint, there are a lot of cons.
Yeah.
It's not the best for the body, especially as you increase volume. It is not very beneficial for your metabolism. You burn more calories during cardiovascular training than you do during strength training, but overall, your metabolism slows down. Hormonally, it can have pretty detrimental effects to your hormone system. But the mental clarity, the mental positivity, 100x outweighs any negative effects it has on the body. Now, I'm comparing ultra running to your average 2 to 3 mile run. Ultra running can just destroy the body. But, this morning was my first run back in a week after Rocky Raccoon. And after that run, as beat up as my body still is, my mind was the most clear it's been in a week. And I was the most focused. I was the most ready for the day. If a doctor told me, if you keep running, it's going to kill you, I would keep running because of what it does for me mentally.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I've found that mental, therapy per se through running, and that's what I've fallen in love with too. And like you said, we're talking about ultras, but it's so relative because it may take a mile or 2 miles for some people to find that release and, first thing in the morning. But then you have, maybe these really elite athletes like ultra runners, and it takes 20 miles. It takes, however long for them to find that release or till their body begins to see detrimental effects. Like that's also the cool part about that run your own race, no comparison kind of mindset is it's just relative for everyone. And that's why I love it because it's the barrier to entry is so low. Like you can go have a conversation with most people and they can start running tomorrow. I love that about it. And yeah, I don't know. It's a special sport, man. It's cool. I'm really glad I found it.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Before we dive into like actual Rocky Raccoon, a lot of runners that I've met don't run to compete.
Yeah.
And when people ask me, like, who are you trying to beat? Are you trying to win this race? Like, I don't plan on ever winning a race. I'm a 200-pound runner. I'm not going to be winning a marathon. But I never care about where I'm placing in that race. Like, running for me, endurance sports fitness in general. It's a way for me to personally improve, mentally and physically.
Yep.
I'm running my own race. I'm running my own run. I'm not ever trying to beat anyone else. Even after I finish a race and you get a medal or a buckle, I don't know where any of my medals or buckles are. They might be in the center console of my truck, or they might be in the trash.
I almost brought mine today, so I'm proud of that thing.
Hey, wear it loud and proud.
You're kidding.
But the thing is, like, I get so much more from the prep in the process than the race. And during the prep, during that process is where I personally win. That's where I feel like I get the pros of the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a side note, I have a perfect example of that in its rawest form is last year I prepped for a marathon, and it was supposed to be in February. And as obviously a lot of Texans know, and most people probably around the country, we got hit with a really bad ice storm. And a lot of races were already still not going on due to COVID, but then the ice storm, took out the last few that were available. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to run it on my own. And then the next weekend had a death in the family, and I was like, okay, not that weekend. And then the next weekend, something else happened. And it hit me that I was like, sure, I could go do this. I still feel motivated, but I didn't feel as fired up and passionate about it. And it hit me that what I've taken away from this prep is already done. Like, everything that I set out to gain from this prep from running, I've already achieved. Like, and my wife she's really competitive, so she maybe didn't have the same mindset, but I was like, I don't even care to do this anymore. Like, the only reason I really want to do it is because I committed to doing it, and I set out and I said I was going to do it. But other than that, I've like learned and grown and found out so much about myself during this prep that I'm content with not actually doing the marathon. So I'll wait till races open back up. And that's what I did. And obviously now the ultra came first, but that is that in its rawest form. Is I took everything away that I needed and moved on. And I kept running, but I was like, I don't need to actually do the event right now. I'll wait till races open back up. So yeah.
You run to run. You don't run to race.
Absolutely.
You train to train. You don't train to compete.
Yep.
That's my mindset with everything.
Yep.
And there's these micro goals throughout the course, but it's not this big build and then radio silent forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Build, radio silent. It's this consistent part of my routine. It's part of my life and lifestyle that I need to feel better. I need to feel good. I need to operate at my full potential.
Yep.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video. And if you enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future releases. And if you want to watch the full episode, go right here and click on the video to my left.